You're watching Channel 7. Welcome back to even more Daily Rundown with me, Dan Morfitt, and AJ Hill and Wendy Olsen. Republican Donald Trump has sparked anger by appearing to suggest his supporters could stop his rival Hillary Clinton by exercising their gun rights. He said, Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets her way to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. By the way, this is not me reading this badly. This is Donald Trump's word-by-word account. I do the accents, but it would be terrible. But the Second Amendment, people, maybe there is. I don't know. So Mr. Trump hinted that gun right advocates could stop her taking power by shooting her. Many accused him of inciting violence. He replied that he was only urging gun right supporters to vote in large numbers. So is Trump now inciting assassination as well as hate? What is going on in America?
Well, I read that one of his responses was, I'm only joking, so that's not him wanting to increase gun voter response.
So he doesn't believe in the Second Amendment then? He doesn't believe in the right to bear arms?
He basically said that him suggesting they should assassinate Hillary Clinton was only a joke.
Banter. That's top banter from a presidential candidate.
Top banter. Shoot her in the head, yeah. It's not good. No, I don't like the man, obviously. I think he's a vile human being. You can't believe anything that he says. He said, in 1998, he said, if I was ever going to run for president, I'd go on a Republican ticket because all those voters are dumb and you can say whatever you want. He's not a man to vote for.
No, he's playing it. Wendy, you're an American. You're from Indiana. What the heck's going on with your country?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's something wrong with Donald Trump. There's really something wrong there because he doesn't make sense when he talks. Now, but when we come to this particular thing, I don't think he really meant that, and I think there's a lot of complaining going on. So people are so sensitive. They've become interested to complain and become a victim and say, oh, this is terrible, what he said. When actually he can't do very much harm. What he was trying to say was that...
You don't think he can do it? I think, well, even... This is the thing. You said he can't do a lot of harm, sorry to put in, but I think that if we're misunderstanding him and thinking that he's inciting violence towards Hillary Clinton, I think that a lot of his supporters could also misconstrue, even if he didn't mean that, they could misconstrue it as saying you should assassinate this person.
Yeah,
he's in a position of power where
he has definitely already incited violence numerous times in his campaign. So he thinks people should just hit people that they dislike and that we should throw people out. He's had one of the protesters being kicked in the aisle of one of his...
being kicked in the aisle is the worst place to be kicked.
No, I mean pushed down and kicked, just as they were trying to get out safely from the theater where he was presenting. He definitely incites violence, there's no doubt. But I'm more secure, and I feel the reason I say he can't do much harm is because he will not get elected.
You don't think?
No, the average intelligence in America is very high, and they joined with him 6 months ago or a year ago on the basis that he was going to win. Right now, he's not going to win, and you're going to see the support for him just disappear.
Do you think?
Because if he's not a winner, they don't want to be with him.
But you guys voted in George W. Bush. Surely this is just them lowering the bar and saying, I think we can go lower, guys, and just. No,
it's my honest prediction, and it's the same as what the polls say. Hillary Clinton is more likely to win than
It doesn't matter what Donald is saying to you because you're over here. Thankfully, you're in Salford, not in Indiana. He's talking to people who really see him as a figurehead of a new type of anti-politics.
Which is ridiculous. They think he's anti-establishment, a billionaire. The anti-establishment billionaire.
I actually heard somebody say...
Blue-collar... No,
blue-collar billionaire. He's a working-class billionaire. What?
Yes, really. That's actually pretty accurate.
No,
and blue-collar people identify with him because he doesn't talk posh. He doesn't use complete sentences. He makes mistakes. They like it.
You want the leader of the free world to not talk in complete... I was having trouble saying his words verbatim there.
Yeah.
Because
he speaks in partial sentences. Like I said, I think there is something wrong with him.
He tweeted.
He's not making sense.
He did a tweet with 21 words. Now, 21 words, he got 3 of them. He spelled 3 of them wrong.
Leader of the free world.
Yeah, future leader of the free world.
I just want to reiterate, though, I feel very secure. I'm sure it's wrong to support Trump. Trump's values are wrong. He should be supporting all these, the Constitution. I checked what all those amendments are, right? He's talking about the Second Amendment, which says if you're going to have a militia, then you have to allow people to hold arms in their homes so that when there is a need for a militia, they can just come out, right? Yeah. But it must be an ordered militia. But he actually believes in chaotic violence. balance.
That's the problem with the Second Amendment, because people just think it's their right to have guns. Even though when the Second Amendment got written, it was long rifles that took 3 minutes to fill up with gunpowder, and then you bullets, and then you...
No, but it's not just that. It's also that what the amendment actually says is you have to have a militia. It has to be an ordered and well-controlled
if
militia.
the government needs to be taken down for its own...
If the government needs to protect itself, right, against civil war. But if you take that in the context of all the other amendments, that's the Bill of Rights. You see, Britain doesn't have a Bill of Rights, so it might be hard to understand it. But it says what rights you have, the right to have the accusations clarified, what the accusations are against you. But he's done nothing. It's okay that he said those things. It just means all you have to do is decide not to vote for him.
But people have AR-15s now, and it's scary, and he's there.
But they individually need to be more self-controlled and not use their guns.
Right, but that's their responsibility. You're saying that everybody in America is rational. Not everybody in the population is irrational.
Well, they do need to be more rational than they are. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't really believe that because he says some flippant remark that people are more likely to shoot.
But that remark would never have been able to be made in Britain. Even before the awful murder of Jo Cox in her constituency by an armed man.
Would he be arrested?
I think you would be arrested in this country for saying, because we know subtext, context.
Yeah.
What he says, the British commentators picked up straight away. He's basically saying assassinate Hillary.
Yeah. Did you notice that in the audience behind Trump, about 90% of that audience didn't understand it?
No.
And just 1 or 2 were like, ooh, what did he say there?
Because Trump's a very difficult man to understand. And I believe we'll have more Trump on the Daily Rundown as we continue all the way till November. Oh, happy days. Our last story for now is more than half of women say they have been sexually harassed at work, with most not reporting it. A survey of 1,500 women saw 52% cites the problem, and also found a third of them had been subjected to unwelcome jokes, and a quarter experienced unwanted touching. Frances O'Grady, head of the National Trade Union Centre, the TUC, said it makes us miserable at work when we just want to do our job and be respected. Sexual harassment ranges from inappropriate comments and jokes, unwanted touching, and even demands for sexual favours. So the question is, how can we tackle this?
Yeah, this is a big problem. I was just checking whether I thought maybe this survey was biased. So I got an independent, separate survey, and they said the same thing. In March of this year, they said that 30% of younger people, in general in the population, have had unwanted contact on their bodies by men. And a lot of young people have actually had men show their genitals to them. And half of them are kids under 15. So what this is, the pattern is, you see, there's an explosion of the kind of violence where a man is pedophilia against a young woman, usually a young woman, or sometimes a young boy. It's an explosion. It was on this show the other night that a barrister said 80% of the cases in the Crown Court were sexual cases. So it seems like men aren't satisfied with their lives generally, and then they're looking for this kind of satisfaction where they're in a powerful relationship to a girl or a woman. And I think what happens in workplaces is they kind of put the woman into a juvenile role by sort of cuddling. It makes
What is it with you two touching me tonight? Like,
you're the victim.
It's all right. It's all right.
Unwanted touching right here on the...
You like it, really.
It's all right.
It does. It kind of juvenilizes the person who's receiving it. Maybe they should learn judo.
Looking at these statistics, though, it's awful that people have to undergo sexual harassment in the workplace. But for 52% of women to say that they can't really bring it up in the workplace to their superiors, that's a big problem.
But it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult. I used to work in a place where a colleague of mine once told me that my boss, she'd brought a case of sexual harassment to him and he'd just done nothing with it. He just sat on it. This was like a decade before she was telling me this, but he just sat on it and nothing had come of it. And it's shocking to hear those kind of things, But it's
have-
shocking to
I
hear
have
that
a
we've not moved
secret-
on from that as well.
Yeah, I have a secret interpretation of this, though.
Okay.
Right, that I usually try and keep quiet, but I'll try and expose it to you. Let's say your colleague has raised the case, brought it to the manager's office, and nothing happens, right? But that's a threat. She's actually given a very credible threat that will tend to inhibit any more of that from happening. And he will whisper. It'll be whispered in gents' toilets, in the pub, maybe just in the street outside the office. You know, better make sure none of that happens. Oh, what did she mention? Oh, it was your, maybe it was your groping. I actually think that she's done a really good thing. And I say this from a position of knowledge because I've been mentoring people. So in mentoring, you have a secret conversation with somebody about what really worries them. And I don't have to tell anybody. And they don't have to, it's not a formal conversation. So you hear about things. And a lot of times the bully doesn't get punished, right? There isn't a clear, punishment role to stop a bully from bullying. But what stops them from bullying is if other managers realize that they've been fingered, that they've basically been caught,
Okay.
And then it inhibits them.
I mean, obviously I work in the comedy industry, and sexism in the comedy industry is rife. Like female comics have a lot of problems with male promoters and things like that, and and other comedians, it's not good. So it's a big problem, and how to tackle it, I don't know.
It's always going to be a problem, and I think I just can't understand men who do it in the workplace.
But wait a minute, what's your advice to a female comic or any young female self-employed person? What should she do?
I would say be quite vocal about it, and especially in comedy, it's a very informal sort of thing. I would say definitely mention that to
always report
to
it.
a
Colleagues,
third party.
yeah, well, just colleagues, especially if it's promoted, because you can tell the comics this guy that's promoted is a bad dude, or vice versa with the
Okay,
comics.
I'll make a suggestion. Have boundaries. Just say
yeah,
to a man. Say to a
boundaries.
man, you've pushed me too far.
If
Don't do it again.
If boundaries are there, they'll always be pushed, and that's the worst thing.
But
and
you've
that's
got
what
to
sexual
verbalise
harassment.
You definitely got to verbalise it.
You got to say
definitely.
that's not acceptable. Don't touch my knee.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Okay.
all.
I know that for future reference.
That's all we have time for in this part of the show, but we'll be back next with our resident animal expert, Andrew Grantham from Animals Intuition. We'll either have fluffy things or creepy crawlers next. The Daily Rundown returns in a couple of minutes' time. Keep it on That's Manchester on Channel 7.